Awesome. So I'm Bryan. I'm a product manager at Atlassian. As you heard from the bio, oh, I'm getting feedback here. But yeah, as you heard from the bio, like I moved here to Sydney in September to work on Jira software, specifically next-gen projects. There's a big investment in next-gen. I think if you've attended some of the previous summits, that I think that Atlassian is really focusing on the cloud, and then also kind of making our products ready for the cloud. And part of that is kind of dealing with the big hulk that Jira is. It's our flagship product, as you guys know, and it's a 15-year-old product. And I think the challenge is kind of building it in a sense to make it easier for you guys as the admins to kind of go about and get more things done, because we all know kind of like how you can get tangled in scheme land, and I think we're trying to make things simpler, but also at the same time, I think Jira Next Gen is really at this point where we're at this inflection point where we know that our users need more power and that need the power of Jira. As you mentioned, I was keenly interested in you hearing that you guys worked on kind of best practices around workflows. That's something that I'm going to share today. So it's a presentation kind of what's coming next, and also be really interested to just have a really open discussion and hear your thoughts on kind of what you guys need today to be successful in moving to the cloud, and also kind of just using NextGen. My Twitter handle is here at @limam8, or I don't know, feel free to reach out anytime. I'll give you guys my email afterwards, and happy to hear feedback just on all things Jira. Cool. So I guess I have a couple of questions which kind of got translated into the Facebook poll. So if you haven't already, it would be really helpful for me to see how many of you guys are using cloud today. It looks like actually, according to that poll, there's a good amount, and I guess I'm just really curious about who's using NextGen today. So if you guys can fill that out, that'll be really helpful. Again, this presentation is going to be really focused on NextGen, and then I'm going to give you guys a kind of just an opportunity to ask questions and really help us guide our roadmap. Right, we have a public roadmap for NextGen on our Atlassian public website, and really interested to hear your thoughts on what are the challenges your teams are facing today in terms of moving to the cloud, if possible, and if your teams are already on the cloud, what's up. Yeah. So cool. So I think I'm gonna just go through a live demo here of, again, what's to come and kind of what's already been shipped. So let's pretend this person is Emma. This is one of my colleagues in Bengaluru, actually. So that's why he has been given a female name. But so there's really two personas that we try to build for here at Atlassian, right? One is kind of that admin who's really trying to, fit her company process into Jira. And then two, there's the end user. So first, we're going to talk through kind of how we help persona number one, which is a Scrum Master who's trying a next-gen project and validating if it's a right fit for her team. So she works for a company called Acme Inc., which is a make-believe company. Online sales. It has 350 employees, and she kind of runs a software development team embedded with the marketing department to deliver changes to this website. So yeah, Emma's a Scrum Master and Anna Jira admin on Acme Inc., and she uses a mixture of spreadsheets and Jira to manage their planning and tracking of tasks. Next, again, that second persona really is these end users, where persona 2 is a lead engineer that joins a project and really kind of has to manage his software team and breaks down work in Jira and kind of wants to keep his team on track and delivering the value to his customers. So cool. How do I? Okay, yeah, cool. I'm gonna jump into live demo. So I'm on a test instance today, but actually most of the features that I'll probably be sharing have been mostly shipped, with the exception of workflows, which is probably one of the biggest and highly asked for ticket for Jira Next Gen. So the first thing I want to talk about is I go into creating a new project and we present this screen. We've actually revamped the screen to give users and project admins more context on the difference between a classic project and a Next Gen project. For all intents and purposes, we haven't used our cloud instances. Classic really is what we call Jira Server or on-premises or self-managed. It's pretty similar. I know there's some things that are missing, but for all intents and purposes, that, and also Next Gen which is the team that I work on. We're trying to make it, again, like from the ground up, easier to set up, easier to use, and build in that power progressively as agile teams need it to suit their needs. So yeah, we've kind of really revamped this product comparison screen and we want to be really transparent that we know that Next-Gen is missing some of the features that people love, like custom card layouts on their boards. But hopefully that'll help give your project teams and project admins like more context when they want to start a new project. See, even within Atlassian, we don't even have the ability to select a classic project anymore. So that kind of gives you the direction of like how we're trying to eat our own dog food, so to speak, right? And really focus on building Next-Gen for the future. We really think this is the future of Jira. So cool, I'm gonna select the Next-Gen project. Let's do the project name, let's call it Acme, since that's the name, the website. Maybe we're gonna run a Kanban for the purpose of this demonstration. Cool. As it chugs along, we land in the board view. Like I think, again, if you haven't heard of Next-Gen, like it really is this view of, we believe, at least to start off, where we have one project, one board, and that's kind of the center of Next-Gen, and we're really trying to bring in the power of Jira to, like we know sometimes that the features are lacking things like workflows and multiple boards. And one of the biggest ways that we're trying to make way for that is integrating a workflow, which we'll talk to today. But one of the things I want to talk to, what's unique to what we shipped recently is when an issue gets assigned to you, like I personally don't think this is a big issue because I love seeing my email with Jira issues updated. But I guess like one of the pain points that we've heard from our users is, as a Scrum Master, like it's really tough to manage your email notifications. So I have an example here of Bevan assigning me an issue on another project. You can go to this little manage notifications thing if you're tired of just getting spammed by Jira all the time, and that'll bring you into your personal settings, which you can kind of toggle on and off of getting email notifications. So hopefully this is a helpful tip. Like I think we've received really positive feedback. We've been measuring kind of success based on this give feedback button here. And a lot of users kind of love seeing that as they're in Jira all day, so they don't really need to use email notifications. Me as a product manager, I love seeing it because it means my product team is, my devs are crushing work. But yeah, so we kind of give that to the end user to customize their notifications on the Next-Gen side. Next is, say Emma is setting up her project. She wants to make a developer role. So previously in Classic, like this is, it's definitely a lot harder to do this, right? To give access to a project. And so one thing that we did is revamp this little access screen, and it allows you to add people really easily, but also create a custom role. So things like, let's see, how do I manage rules? I'm gonna create a role for developers. And we've kind of really surfaced this, the kind of settings on the roles to be within the context of the project. We think this is going to be really helpful to project admins. And really, it's just a lot less clicks than Classic. I'm sure the experienced admins can go in here and play around, and it's just a lot more easier to set up. So hopefully you guys will love it. If not, feel free to give feedback. Like we definitely read our feedback. Even like one thing that I'll share with you guys is this little give feedback button in the bottom left. Like we actually read each and every one of those tickets. So don't be afraid, go for that. Another thing that like we've shipped recently is, like we know that Jira can be a beast, right, and a complicated product. And so when you have new users onboarding to Jira, this little learn more now button now slides out a little help. So no longer do kind of users need to go into like Googling or maybe asking their admin, how do I use Jira? How do I set up Jira? Like we've really brought in our contextual help articles into the app. So hopefully new users of Jira will love that a lot. Next, so now that I didn't make a role for the purposes of this demo, but let's go through setting up a workflow and what that looks like in NextGen. So remember, in Classic, there are schemes. So when you go into product settings, you notice there's no more workflow button. This is coming, by the way, it's not shipped to production yet. My team is working really hard day in and day out to this to get it ready. But now you'll have to access the edit workflow, the workflow through the issue type view. So now we're gonna have this little edit workflow button. And maybe Emma wants to make a step that says in QA. Let's add a in QA status. Cool, there it is. And maybe she wants to make sure her issues go from to do to in progress to in QA to done, because she doesn't want I guess issues to go straight from to do to done, especially because that may affect her reporting and kind of her this process and kind of like time that she can evaluate how fast her team is moving. So let's go doing the transition, add these transitions, ready for QA, I don't know, ready for testing, and shipped. Cool. So this is an example of a really simple workflow. So definitely like super excited to hear your thoughts on this. And like I honestly like I know it looks super simple and it looks similar to Classic, but hopefully you guys will love it. It'll be a lot simpler and quicker to set up a workflow for your Jira project. So we're gonna save and close. Let's do it for apply it to all issue types for now. And cool, so awesome. Like I think they're kind of happy. Emma's happy and ready to kind of evaluate NextGen. Uh-oh, let's see, where is my in progress? Uh-oh. Well, that is not good. Since this, all right, well, we're still working out the kinks, but one thing I want to point out that's unique to NextGen is that there is only one status per column currently. And actually, like, I think a lot of the simplicity of NextGen like is really trying to keep this board and workflow editor in sync, at least while you have one single workflow per all issue types. So unfortunately, my QA column doesn't appear on the board. But let's see what happens. Actually, let's just try to start creating more tasks. Or let's say, let's see, make translate, build checkout page. I don't know. And maybe add payment button. Because remember, we're an e-commerce company. So what do you expect to happen on the board once you set up these, we call it non-global transitions? We show these beautiful now drop zones with the transition name and the status that you're transitioning to. Unfortunately, I wonder what's going to happen next. Actually, since my QA column didn't appear, okay, yeah, I can't transition to done, unfortunately. So I found a bug. The team pushed these changes to production like literally yesterday. So excuse the little demo, but there's a sneak peek of workflows. Like kind of that's how we're thinking about applying it. And I know, like, I think one of the immediate questions probably is like, okay, how does that work if you want to share a workflow across multiple projects? Really, I can tell you the future and what the team's working hard on is templates. So you'll be able to like copy a workflow over to a different project. That's really TBD. It's really kind of the future of NextGen, and we're thinking about how to implement that. So details and more to come soon. Another thing I wanted to point out is I think one of the things in NextGen is we're trying to make these little delighters and introduce harder Jira concepts as we introduce the power of Jira into NextGen. So one thing is this little tick mark here is really shows that issues like done is special in Jira, basically, right? If you're a team coming from Trello, you don't really have this concept of done. I know this is a hairy thing in Jira, but I think for the most part right now in NextGen, the rightmost column is locked to the done column, and resolutions are associated to done status categories. So hopefully this helps clear up confusion as we introduce more power with allowing users to add different statuses to columns, things like that. I think when users hit those kind of limits of Jira, we hope this will make it at least a little simpler to understand and kind of progressively power up. So cool. Let's see. Another thing that we've shipped recently is these user-based swim lanes. So right now I'm the project admin on this board, but if I go to a board where I'm not the admin and I'm the end user, so this is unique to NextGen. Remember, when you are on classic projects or on a server project, then you have this view of the board that's really forced onto you by the admin. So like all users will see this, group by assignee, for example. Let me assign it to myself to get these swim lanes active. But something that's really cool and unique to NextGen, we've listened to a lot of feedback from Classic, is that actually this is now unique to the end user, and no longer will they be forced a view on the admin. And this is really important, I think, for especially now where teams are running more Kanban style. Like they really use the board as their centralized place to view their team's work, and we allow users to group by assignee, by subtask, and if I add an epic kind of issue type here, we'll also have epics. Let's see, let's add an issue type. Oh, I see. I do have an epic issue type. Let me create an epic just so we can see that. Let's see, finish checkout page. Cool. Back to the board. And we can group by epic. Let's see, unfortunately, they don't have any epics, so we're gonna go and assign them. One thing that I wanted to show is back to this roadmap view, we've also introduced a whole palette of colors. Like I think this is one of the draws of NextGen is people are starting to use this to plan their work. As you guys know, like epics are supposed to be big chunks of work. And so we've heard the feedback and we've added a whole row of colors. So that's really exciting. I think we've heard really good feedback there as teams kind of organize their roadmap here and use it to kind of show off what's coming up next for their teams. So remember, let's see, we're gonna also assign those issues to this epic. So one way I want to do that is through the backlog. One thing that's unique to NextGen is we have this feature toggle. So we don't kind of force early teams of Jira to kind of use a backlog, but because like the whole concept behind this feature page is we're not throwing the whole kitchen sink of Jira onto the users, right? It's like there's a ton of features in Jira, and if you don't know how to use it, it's just super overwhelming at first. So we think that progressively that teams will need to enable backlog or things like reports, for example, and versioning as well. Cool, so we enable the backlog now. Let's go to the backlog and assign our issues. One thing that just is out to 100% is that epic panel. So this is not new to Jira. We all know this has existed before, but we brought back the epic panel just because we know that teams kind of need it and they're planning to work within the backlog, right? So let's assign and bulk assign both these issues into this epic. So I did a command click there to select both of them. Nope, that did not work. How did not? Okay, well, it should bulk assign. Let's see, let's go task 2. Let's say I want to put these both in the epic. There we go. Okay, nice. And it shows kind of there's a progress bar now. See, the progress in progress is 1. It dynamically updates and so cool. If you're using NextGen, like make sure your teams know about this epic panel, especially the ones that are in the backlog and running kind of more of a Scrum ban or even like with sprints. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And you can go back to the board and group by epic. So yes, now this one, what happened to my issues? Well, okay, definitely having technical difficulties with my test instance, but that's really the gist of it. I think that like we're really trying to address these challenges that agile teams have today, and as we progressively build in the power of Jira, we hope to suit those needs. And if we're not seeing those needs, definitely like feel free to reach out and let me know. Cool. Are there any questions? The other thing in the backlog really quick is similar to Epic panel, we brought back the version panel as well. So it behaves really similar. I can assign a version now from the issue, for example, X version v1, maybe create a new version. And it just behaves really similar to the Epic panel, right? So now I have a version, I can bulk assign using this beautiful drag and drop functionality. Yeah, cool. That's really about it. Are there any questions? Let's see. And I guess like really specifically, like I noticed that there are a ton of people like already using the cloud in this user group, but kind of what, I guess I want to drive a discussion on like, if you're not using cloud today, like what's preventing your teams from switching to cloud? And also kind of if you're using cloud today, what are some of the limitations and features like you wish to have? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. My email is here, by the way, Bryan.lim@Atlassian. Feel free to shoot me a line anytime. Any questions, feedback, thoughts?
Hey, Bryan, this is Prakash. Yeah, the status on the Epic showing the progress, that's awesome.
Nice.
That is very well missed in the current Jira version that we are using.
I'm glad. Thanks. That's great feedback.
Hey Bryan, this is Sudeep. I loved your presentation. Thank you so much. But I do have a couple of questions. I've been using the Next-Gen, but I've not been using it so extensively right now. I've been using with a small set of my team. And some of the things that I've realized is one of the things that was very helpful for me was components in classic version, which seems to be missing Next-Gen right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any updates on having like adding those components or anything?
That is a great question. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I know that's a really like popular request. Is there like, I guess like how does your team want to use components today? I'm trying to think. Yeah, that would help. Like why do you miss components? If you had it today, what would you do with it?
For today, like so basically components, I'm not sure if that's the perfect use of making use of components right now. So there are multiple ways we are making use of components. One of them is like segregating the views based on teams. So inside product team, we have smaller teams, and we are using it to segregate, like creating different views inside us, different boards inside us project, right? And the second way is also in terms of our clients, like we have like multiple clients right now. So segregating the views based on our clients, like if there are only items, if we want to segregate tickets only related to a specific particular client, we are using that way right now. But yeah, so that's one. And besides that, the second thing is the resolution part. So I know like you showed me the resolution part, and currently in Jira, so if you see the burn down chart, inside the burn down chart, the tickets get burned only after it reaches the final state, right? So some of the requirements for me has been cases like we have a status, like let's say we have in UAT status and the final status is done. So we want our burn down chart to reflect once the tickets have been moved to in UAT and not the done status, not the final column actually. So which is currently not possible right now. Do you have any idea on that?
Let me address the last one, because that one is actually really top of mind for us now as we build in workflows. So one, resolution, unfortunately, it's not going to be that easy. And I know that the team definitely wants to build that power in Jira. So unfortunately, like I can be really transparent, and that's not coming soon to next gen. So, but I guess like in Classic, do you know, or like the previous versions of Jira, were you allowed to specify a status that you wanted as complete in the burn down chart? Because to my knowledge, like before, it was always last column no matter what.
Yeah. Okay. So I think yes, definitely we can specify like we can select make set resolution. Like there's an option to have like set resolution. But then like even if we do that, like tickets, once we have that option, once we enable the option or check it as set resolution, the tickets get strike out which means it's kind of resolution status has been changed to done, resolved, but still on the burn down chart, it does not reflect until and unless we move the tickets to the final column, right? So
right. Yeah, that's a really traditional Jira pain point that I'm really trying to fight and kind of understand. Now that would be great to kind of talk a little bit more to the team about that. Actually, like I think within Jira, I think historically the engineering answer is because like we acquired Greenhopper boards, and that's just how like unfortunately reports and sprints both behave, as they treat the last column as done, which kind of really just blows my mind. It was one of those Jira WTFs that I'm trying to figure out. So yeah, if we can map resolution to the burnout chart, I think that would be a good thing. We're really trying to work on like what do we want kind of Jira to go in the future. And I don't know if there's other teams that are sharing that pain. Definitely feel free to reach out. But I can tell you in the short term, like unfortunately, it's going to map to last column, and we probably won't have resolution anytime soon in next gen. The previous question you talked about segregating views based on teams, and so would you create a separate view based on like a JQL statement that says for all the issues with this component, then make me this board? Is that, I want to clarify.
Yeah, so in my case, like some of the teams, like we have one single project, but inside that we have like multiple Scrum boards or multiple Kanban boards, right? So segregating the views based on component using custom JQLs. That's how I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like you said, we do have that in Classic. Unfortunately, we don't have that in Next Gen yet, but I can tell you within the next year, we're definitely going to look to bring in JQL boards and have multiple boards for one single project, because we know it sounds like your team is, for example, like wanting to work off a single backlog, right? And this keeps things more organized. We know users love the roadmap in Next Gen, so then you can have it all in one project. So I can tell you, like the team is working on it. We've scoped out the estimations. It's not going to be short because. But we're looking to deliver that in the next year. Like we're really looking to deliver multiple boards. We're looking to deliver workflows. We're looking to deliver column status mapping to allow multiple statuses in the last column to be basically marked as resolved before we have resolution, and hopefully that'll also help a little bit with the burn down chart as you have different kind of statuses in the last column in the meantime.
Yeah, some of these kind of features would, I think, definitely help us increase some productivity into the team as well. So coming outside of, yeah, sorry, please go ahead.
I was going to say, is there a reason why you would use components over labels, for example?
So it's easy. I mean, like first of all, like for the components, it's easy to make updates, right? Because like components has a separate section in Jira, and then you can make someone like default lead, component lead as well, not a project lead, but component lead. That way, the issues that we create gets auto assigned to that component lead, right?
Got it.
We can do it from using labels as well, but it's, I think, and later on, like if we have to, like it's easier to migrate from tickets from one component to others as well. So.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thanks. That's good feedback. Okay, I'd have to follow up with the platform team on like where they want in terms of components. But thanks. Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Sorry, you have another question. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So I'm trying to come out of Next Gen right now. Not sure if that comes under your scope or not. So recently I did a migration, right? So I did a cloud migration from one instance to another instance, right? And that was kind of pain for me. Like so the process I had to do is like I had to export all of the tickets from previous instance in a CSV file, and then migrate it to another instance and import all of the issues from CSV. And they were like things that I had to specifically address for attachments and those kind of stuffs. So I think it would be an easier process if we could easily migrate from one cloud instance to another instance, right? So
why did you have to migrate from one cloud to another, if I may ask?
So at my company we had like different projects, and the projects were owned by some other company. Like so we are in offshore business, right? So so the use case was they wanted to migrate from my company's instance to their own instance, right? And they wanted to like migrate all of because all of the issues were in previous companies, so they wanted to migrate to a new company. So that was the
Got it. So your company got basically acquired, is that right? Or yeah.
No, so not acquired exactly. So I'm working for a company that's based out in Nepal. But then like I'm also working for a project that's been owned by some other company in the US, right? So we had to migrate from one company, the data migration from one company to another company.
Got it. Because you want to link those issues up basically with their things. Yes, that's a good question. I think I'd have to talk to the migration teams. I think right now they're really focused on server to cloud migrations, unfortunately, or like data center to cloud. But I mean, that's really great feedback. We know that combining different instances is really tough. I think so. Right now, there's not a really fresh way to do that. I guess, was there anything stopping you from starting fresh, for example? Like, I guess, were the projects already in progress? Is that's why you just wanted to simply like port them over?
Yeah. We could have started from fresh, but then like we had lots of items that have already been planned in our backlog, right? So creating them again in a new instance would be a pain, right? So it was easier to migrate all of those stuff. Plus the history of things that we have done in the past, right? So if we start fresh, like we'd be missing all of those previous history data and those kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, that's good feedback. I'll take this back to the team. I don't have an answer for you right now, but yeah, cool.
Yeah. And my last question, sorry, I'm taking too much time on this. So this would be my last. So I think Atlassian does also have a marketplace, which is beautiful, I would say. I think that has to be the strength because like, but then like there are certain limitations. Like if we have to try out any integrations, like we just have like a month's trial period, right? And not much of the integrations are available for free. Like so, if I compare this with the Play Store of Android and iOS, I mean like they have like so many applications that we can use widely and freely, right? In here, like Jira does offer like integrations for free, but then in order to do, for example, let's say there is a road mapping tool from AHA that I want to use, right, into my email. The integration is free for me, but then in order to use that product, I have to sign up to AHA, get the paid version of AHA, and then only I can make like use it for an extended. So it would be great, like if we have like more, I mean, like integrations in marketplace that are available for free, that's available for users to use, right? So I think that might be a bigger ecosystem, I'd say.
I think that's awesome feedback. It's like you said, with the strength of Atlassian is our ecosystem and marketplace. I think the short-term answer, unfortunately, is that our vendors are really incentivized to go and make paid apps, but I think I can tell you that Atlassian's been really kind of vigilant in acquiring companies, right? So one of the things that we brought in recently is automation for Jira. And so like, I think that like that's one thing that you can definitely play with as it's kind of live on most paid instances. So, but yeah, that's good feedback too. Yeah. Maybe there's a different way we can incentivize our kind of marketplace developers.
Right. Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. That's all I had.
Awesome, thanks. Good feedback. Anyone else?
Hi, Bryan. This is Vishnu. Thank you for being here. My question about next generation software project is, I think this is very good project tool because classic is there's so much configuration and this is neat, clean, slick. So I have to say, please don't complicate this initiative with many configurations. So, but having said that, I'm using this for non-software development projects, right? It's working good, but for software development projects, we have multiple teams. So kind of we are not able to switch into this. We want to, but not able to switch into this because there are no multiple or parallel sprints can run together. So that is one thing that is holding us. Can you share some update or light on that?
Yeah, that's good. Can I ask more about multiple teams? Like how would they want to collaborate in Jira together? Like, I guess like kind of what is kind of the user problem there? And we can kind of get to the crux of that, and I'll definitely share for sure what we're thinking.
It's not that even single board can be used. It's just the clean look that while during the sprint execution, right? They don't want to look into what others board, what other team is working on for the sprint execution, for the planning purpose and all other, because we use the single, we have the single product, so everything is one. But during the execution, they don't want to look into the other sprints user stories, just their one, and focus on their execution. So that's the primary purpose, that they want to look into only one sprint.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think one of the things, like I mentioned, is the user-based swim lanes we hope will help kind of address that. Like I think like I can go into, like when I'm on my board, like I definitely, I mean, I guess as a PM, like I'm curious what all the rest of the devs are doing, but I definitely group by the signee like really often. So that way that they can find, like each single dev find their work on the board by grouping by the signee on the group by. Another thing that, like I think with NextGen today, like we really do use the filters on the top of the board a lot. Like, so we would have labels on our issues and say, like, if we have multiple kind of streams of work within a team, then we'll kind of label it as in like performance stream or like a, you know, tracking productivity stream. And so like then it'll kind of filter the board based on how you want it. But I guess like really the next step is, I think it's tricky. It's like you said, do all teams want that multiple board per project format? I think it's clear that especially the classic users wanting to use NextGen want that. But I think that there are ways kind of to do it in other ways. Like I guess like we really use the filters a lot, and then we use the kind of that group by menu on the board, also on the backlog. The filters on the backlog to organize the work if we have multiple teams working on one project. But in most cases, I think at Atlassian, like you'll be surprised. I think someone said earlier that that I think one of the most common piece of feedback is like, are we using Jira right? I think the best part about Jira is that it's so customizable, but also the most challenging part about Jira is that it's so customizable, right? And so within Atlassian, like you'll be surprised that like, yeah, we're the makers of Jira, but like we really do like have one development team on one project. I think that does create challenges. Like I mentioned before, is like we can't have a single roadmap view. Like we actually like get our roadmaps and then we put it into Confluence. So like I see the pain. I guess that was my roundabout answer of kind of answering your question, is like we just really use filters and labels and kind of epics to death and hope that kind of works out. But it's like you said, there are challenges for sure. So yeah. Hopefully that helps. And feel free to kind of shoot me emails if your teams are running into more limitations. Like I understand. Like one of the things that like, so to build this workflows feature, like I can share is like we're interacting with the team that kind of deals with the Jira settings, and so they really own that workflow editor piece, and versus my team really owns all the interactions on the board. And so in order to kind of link issues to each other, we would actually file duplicate issues on their backlog when we find bugs for each other. So I know it's not the most efficient process sometimes, but it kind of like allows the teams to kind of operate in that small, autonomous, like agile way in some sense. But yeah.
Okay, Bryan, I also started using this NextGen project when it was launched since then. And initially, as you know, that there were very limited features for NextGen project. So basically, starting people were not interested to use it. So, but nowadays there are lots of new features have been released till so far, and but I think everyone would like to know that what are the new features still which are in release pipeline. So
yes, let's see, where's my NextGen public roadmap? So the biggest things here, let me share my screen. This is kind of the rough kind of what's next. So if you go to Atlassian.com/Jira, what's new NextGen? I can link this in the Facebook group. Basically, these are kind of the main focuses here. Is the workflow editor. The team's been working really hard. Like you said, there's maybe a little bit of kinks to work out. We hope to deliver this in the next month or so. And if you want kind of earlier access, like definitely message me and we can kind of have that arranged if you're really keen to use this on NextGen. Next is board clearing. So one of the things that we don't have available, or we're seeing a lot of Kanban teams kind of struggle with, is their done column is just getting too cluttered, and we have to wait typically for that 14 days to elapse. We're going to allow users to clean up or clear the board of clear the done column within the kind of meatball menu. I can show you here. Let's see. It might not be enabled on this instance yet because it's not ready. But from here, you're going to be able to clear all the issues in the done column before the 14-day kind of period. That's something that already existed kind of in Classic. Let's see, what else is so that's interesting. Like copy projects is coming. Like that's how we kind of believe is the new scheme immediately, right? It's like you can copy a configuration onto a different project. Unfortunately, like I can be really transparent, and I don't think this will be ready within the end of the year as we kind of prepare for the cloud. And one of the things we're really struggling with is kind of performance on the cloud. And so like we've been asked to, like the whole platform team may go in and kind of swarm on that first. CI/CD information, this is a huge stream of work that's kind of net new to both kind of Classic and NextGen, is really kind of allowing users to manage their DevOps process. And like I think we're trying to integrate both GitHub and Bitbucket more into Jira, and so like this is a huge stream of work within Atlassian right now. And I can tell you this. There's a lot of teams working on this. Let's see. Sign works and this is already done. I doubt that we're going to do the control chart. So one of the things that we're working on, one of the other teams in NextGen is working on right now is keyboard shortcuts. Like, you know, keyboard shortcuts is missing in NextGen, and that's kind of disallowing kind of our users to be more efficient, right? And I think we're going to try to standardize with Confluence and all of our other Atlassian products to make it more kind of accessible and rememberable within the Atlassian suite. But that's really what's coming next. It's really the workflow editor, board clearing, keyboard shortcuts. What's not on here, and I think is going to be the biggest next initiative, is I guess multiple boards. And I think we're going to really go after that really hard and kind of building that functionality for the teams that are working on one project. So hopefully that helps. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. Thanks, Bryan, for letting us know about that.
Sorry, do your teams need those meetings? What do you think would be stopping your teams from using NextGen today?
Not now.
I think we are getting some on the line. I mean, like.
Yeah, there's a little bit of feedback.
Okay, so is there anyone who has some queries or any questions for Bryan? No one? Okay. So thanks, Bryan. It was a nice and fruitful session for all of us.